Happy holidays. Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a happy holiday.
Trojan family, what's up? Hope everyone is doing well on this Tuesday evening. I'm Ryan Dyer. This is the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. Super quick recruiting update for you. As I promised earlier, if you watched any of our earlier content and USC coverage, Honor Fa'alave Johnson, the number one safety recruit in the 2027 class, just released his top 10. We know USB's been at the top. That's no surprise. I've talked a bunch about USC really kind of whittling down their defensive back kind of targets. And there's kind of those five guys that we've been talking about a lot, Aaron Washington and Danny Lang from Mater Dei. Obviously, Duve Williams is kind of the lock from Jay Sarah. You have Gavin Williams, the safety from Damien in Laverne. And then Honor Fa'alave Johnson, the safety from Cathedral down in San Diego. So those are kind of the five they've honed in on. I felt really good about where they stand with Fa'alave Johnson, and he just released his top 10, and, sure enough, no surprise, USC is in that top 10. The full 10 is USC, and then he includes Miami, Penn State, which is kind of interesting with all the change of the guards. I'm curious if that is based on the Matt Campbell hire, or if he was already really high on Penn State, just, being Penn State, but obviously, the coaching change there maybe didn't change, and he wants to kind of see that play out. Oregon, Notre Dame, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M, and Ohio State. So no shock, the top 10, it's going to be 10 of the best programs in all of America going for the number one safety and one of the top players in all of California. So he says, this is quote from Rivals reporting this, Hayes Fawcett, the great Hayes Fawcett, wrote this, and it, quote, "The thing that stood out to me about these 10 are the programs. Everyone can sell you a dream. These programs are all winners, produce first-round talent, and help develop all their players. I believe whichever school I choose between these 10 will help me not only as a football player, but as a Christian student athlete." He also says that of the 10, the two leading the pack are Alabama and USC. So USC certainly the top, as we've been reporting, as many others in the industry have as well, trying to keep another California kid home. He said, as of right now, USC and Alabama are setting the pace, but everyone is not too far off. On USC, he says USC is building something great, and I would love to be a part of it. He's visited. He was at the Michigan game, which obviously was a great game for all recruits to be at, with that electric atmosphere at the Call-In, obviously a dominant USC victory over Michigan. So on top of this, our good friend Scott Schrader, I just wanted to show us our good friend Scott Schrader at Rivals, wearesc.com, just dropped a great article. It looks like he had a really long conversation. He's obviously, for those of you who don't know, he's probably the most plugged in USC recruiter. I'm aspiring to get the Scott's level, but a lot of it is all Scott leading the charge, and we're able to kind of, add to what then he already kind of reports. So he has a great article. I'll link it in the description. You can check it out. But really kind of details a lot of, Fa'alave Johnson's process, the end of his season, and gets some good quotes. And I feel like what's really interesting in this is, he's the number one safety, but he's a two-way player. I mean, he's truly, when you look at recruits that have the ATH, the athlete moniker next to them, that truly is Fa'alave Johnson, because of not just that he plays both ways, but he's pretty dominant both ways. And when you look at just statistically, I mean, put on the tape, you can see how good he is. You can see how good he was in the state playoffs and what he was able to do from the running back position. But he finished this year with 1,265 rushing yards with 21 touchdowns, and finished with 564 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. Like, those aren't just, okay, yeah, he plays offense here and there. That's like you're the dominant offensive player for your team. Defensively, finished with 38 total tackles from the safety position, but a true athlete, side to sideline, can play in the box, can play deep, did have 1 tackle for loss. And, I think they might be missing some of the defensive stats also just throughout the season. They don't track those as well defensively, it seems like. So, but a true two-way player, but USC is recruiting him as a defensive player. Doug Belk has been his primary contact. Obviously, other coaches at Will have been in the process as well. Coach Dog has been highly, highly involved. We all know how great he is in recruiting game. Obviously, Chad Bowden has his say, but Chad Savage on the offensive side has also stayed in communication. Obviously, they're on the same team, but this is a player that in the recruiting process that, they're recruiting him as a defensive back, but there's certainly been conversations of, hey, we can potentially still use you on the offensive side of the ball here and there. Like we've seen this happen with other players. Obviously, we know Travis, Hunter and his Heisman campaign and him being the latest full-time two-way player. I don't think they're trying to do that with Fa'alava Johnson, but there's certainly situations where they could say, hey, yeah, we can certainly put you on offense and use your skill set. Chad Savage actually, when he was at Colorado State, was recruiting Fa'alava Johnson, and I believe was one of the first offers he got was from Chad Savage and Colorado State. So what a full circle moment now that Savage is tight ends coach at USC, and because that relationship has already been built, is still kind of involved in the process. So not necessarily recruiting him, certainly not as a tight end. Certainly, he could be kind of that inside receiver / running back, really kind of that, I don't want to say gadget player, but can play kind of both, kind of like a Raleek Brown, if you remember him a little bit, where they used in that slot, but obviously in the running back room as well. Could certainly do that, but as I said, is primarily, or not just primarily, is being recruited as a safety in this class by USC. So some of I think there's just some really good quotes in here from Scott. But I think, he talks about the coaches, so I'll glean on that a little bit. And so he says, it was a blessing to be there and see what USC has to offer. Communication with USC has been steady and intentional. Defensive backs coach Doug Belk remains the primary contact. I talk to Coach Doug Belk almost every day, Fa'alava Johnson said. Then Coach Dog and Coach Savage reaches out too. Savage, here we go, first offered him while at Colorado State and has known him since his freshman year. That relationship goes way back, Fa'alava says. Coach, in regards to Coach Dog, he's not just a good recruiter, he's a good person. He's honest. He doesn't sell you a dream. He told me straight up that the secondary needs help and that he feels I could come in and make an impact. He tells you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. That's been the theme with this coaching staff and with this recruiting staff led by Chad Bowden and you can tell it is a little bit different because, I'm scouring all different recruiting stuff and talking to my own, whatever you want to call them, sources, people I know in the industry, but also, reading other articles and message boards. And when all these athletes release their, top 10, top 6, top 3, whatever, and they list kind of what they like, it's not the same for every school. When it comes to Alabama, it's like, oh yeah, like the coaches, building relationships, the atmosphere. And when it comes to Oregon, the great brand, love Dan Lanning, this, USC is very thematically, I love the honesty. I love what they're telling me exactly, not what I want to hear, but what I need to hear and this and that. It's very intentional, this different type of, just saying how it is right now. I talked about previously when talking about Chad Bowden a few weeks ago, how he kind of told, I believe it was Mark Bowman's parents, this year we're probably an 8 to 9 win team. And this 26 class is where now we can get to that next threshold and then be a championship contender every year after that. Not many coaches do that. Oh yeah, we're probably an 8 win team this year. No, they're going to be oh, we're aspiring to be championships every year, which obviously you are, but there is something to be said about that honesty. And clearly the staff is intentional about that with every recruit. And just another example with Fa'alava Johnson here. Says of Bowden, you can tell he has a real plan, and it's starting to work. They're on a path to greatness. If they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to be really good. So he'll have another visit for sure. He's visiting Oregon, Texas, Alabama State, Texas A&M, so don't expect a commitment to be coming anytime soon. Once he does commit, and if it is to USC, then we know there will be no more visits. So that is a very good sign of things to come. But I wouldn't expect anything until the late spring probably at the earliest, is he'll knock out a bunch of his, as he should. You're the number one player at your position. You should see what all there is out there to offer. And then if things still feel strong with USC, great, lock it down and be one of the headline players for this 27 class. So things still moving and working, but that's the latest update with him. USC top 2 basically right now out of the top 10. They, I feel like, are the team to beat because of those relationships, because of the proximity to home, and because of just what they're building and the future progress of the program that we've seen play out this year and just in this short stint of the offseason moving forward. So exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. Drop your comments below on what you think of Fa'alave Johnson, on if you want him to be a two-way player. Like, is this a guy, obviously USC, as I said, recruiting him as a defensive back, potentially could, have him play some offense here and there. Would you like to see, hey, let's chase Travis Hunter. Let's have a USC guy chase that and be that full two-way Heisman-type candidate. Drop your comments below. Let me know. Hit that like and subscribe. It means the world to me. You can become a member, which is even more awesome. Yeah, why not? You get discounts on merch and a bunch of other perks. So everyone have a great evening. I'll be back all day tomorrow, so make sure to keep it right here on the USC LAFB YouTube page, or head over to LAFBnetwork.com. We got our message board. I put everything up on there, so all of these re-signings, anything with the transfer portal, you can find on our message board at LAFBnetwork.com. Appreciate you, family. We'll talk soon. As always, fight on. Hey, Trojan family, thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers, they've got live stat updates, they've got a chat you can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose J.D. Maiava in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USCLAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in $10, they'll match you that $10, so now you're sitting at $20 to play with. But also, right now, for any new users, no deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free, go make a deposit, use USC LAFB, and now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family, and when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.
Happy holidays. Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a happy holiday. If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.